Hello, hi there. Hope you're doing well. Just a quick reflection in regards to our situation that is current nowadays. So, as we know, we are under the circumstances of COVID, of the pandemic, and just reflecting upon that and something else. We are so worried about getting infected, and we go to the doctor and we take so many precautions to avoid it, to avoid getting infected with the COVID or to pass it on. And I thought to myself, and now that I don't believe in COVID, know that I do not believe that it has taken lives away, even from my own family and our loved ones, and I know that it affects the health of many. So it's not that I'm saying that it doesn't exist. It's just that I was thinking, if we truly, so let me go back. If we had the same precautions, if we have the same concerns with our own salvation as we have with COVID, it will be a different story, right? I'm so worried about my body. I'm so worried about getting infected. I'm so worried about dying of COVID. But what about my eternal life, my eternal salvation? Am I worried? Am I as worried about my eternal salvation and my life forever, my eternal life, than with COVID? Eventually, all of us are going to die. I'm not saying again not to prevent it, but all of us are going to die sooner or later. But our lives, our souls have, they're eternal. They're live forever. So why not take the same precautions, take the vaccination or the covering, of our nose and mouth to not contract it and also not to give it. Why don't we take the same precautions and the same concern with our spiritual life? It will be a different story, right? More prayer, more talking to the doctor, like to God, being with Him, having that presence of Him, especially us Catholic Christians, going to confession and getting all that infection out, right? So taking all, no, there's an infection. So, asking forgiveness for my sins and repenting and changing and trying to be more virtuous, trying to wear my salvation with fear and tremble, as Philippians 2:12 tells us, right? So St. Paul tells us, after talking about the Passion of Christ, he tells us to work our salvation with fear and tremble. Yes, we have to accept our salvation, but we also have to work for it, right? In the sense of, when I'm working my salvation with fear and tremble, doesn't mean that I'm afraid of God. It means that I accepted it. So therefore, I'm going to live a Christian life that shows that I accepted that salvation. Otherwise, it's like, I'll give you $1 million check and you're still living under the bridge, right? So you're not really rich. You're not wealthy. You haven't accepted and made it your own. Here's an invitation to work our salvation with fear and tremble, and to worry about your salvation. Again, our body, yes, they're important, but also our souls. So if we're so worried about getting infected with the virus, we should also be worried about getting infected with our sinfulness. And again, it's not there's an infection, but we should be worried about our souls, right? And all the stains that we put into our souls and that we put into other souls by sinning. We should be worried about going to the doctor and meeting with God and getting ready for our death, because we're all gonna die. So that's one reflection. And the other one that I was thinking about, more personal. So, for instance, I was looking at a beautiful house close to the beach, or like a foresty house, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna work hard and I'm gonna start saving up and I'm gonna do this and that, and then I'm like, okay, that's cool, but at the same time I'm like, wait, you also have to do that for your eternal home. So just an invitation, because again, I'm not gonna take that beautiful house or that beautiful nature escape, right, when I die. So if I'm planning to save up and to do whatever it takes to be able to maybe at the end of my life live in a peaceful little home close to nature, why don't I do that with my eternal home, with my eternal dwelling? So it's an invitation to save up, to sacrifice, to do whatever it takes for eternal dwelling with God. So I pray for you, pray for me, that we never lose sight of our final destination, and that we truly work our salvation with fear and tremble, like St. Paul said in Philippians, that we may not take for granted that salvation, and that we may start living our heaven here on earth, and also helping others to live their heaven here on earth. So again, yes, care about your body, worry about protection and precautions, but we should also do that with our spiritual life, so that we may not lose the eternal salvation that Jesus earned for us on the cross and through His passion. God bless you.